Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. You are listening to the new streamingnetwork.com. This is the home of Going Solo and Going Bold. And we want to welcome you so much to the show here, Going Solo with Cece. I am Cece Shatz. I'm the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach. And it is great to have you here tonight. We're going to talk about something totally different. We're going to talk about our youth tonight. We have a wonderful guest on. He's really making a difference. And, so often we talk about our youth and many people carry on, see how disappointed they are as to what's happening with our youth today. But the reality is there are a lot of great people out there, a lot of great young guys and gals that are making a difference. And we just don't recognize them enough. And we're going to do that here today. So I want to bring our guest forward. Kale, hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. We have Kale Sudhoff, if I pronounce it correctly. I hope so. He is a 19-year-old and he is very busy working as an enrichment teacher at a local preschool. He's also written fabulous books. They are books for young individuals. One is called Danny the Duck Head South. The other one is Danny and Kevin Conquer Camping. And then the last one is Stewart H. Quills and His Explosive Emotions, which is going to be released in fall. Well, it was released in fall of 2023, right? So it's
Yes.
your latest and newest book. So we are just thrilled with having you here with us tonight. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
It is great having you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your inspiration as to why you decided to write these wonderful books for children.
Okay. So when I was 15 years old, I first got the idea to write a children's book. I really didn't like books growing up. I was born with a stutter, and that was especially evident when I was reading. So that was something that I really got teased a lot about at school. So I tried to avoid books like as much as possible. And it wasn't until I was about 15 that everything just sort of took a 360 turn. I was just sort of sitting with my thoughts one night, and just a word popped into my head, and that word was author. And I knew this thought had to come from somewhere, but I knew that I didn't want to think about this word. This is the last word that I ever wanted to think about. But um, it wouldn't leave my mind. I was like, God, if this is you, you got the wrong guy. You're talking to someone who doesn't like books and wouldn't be caught near a book, and you want me to be an author. But yep, so I just put it away, thought that it was over, and then the next morning I sort of forgot about the whole thing. My grandma was over at our house, helping my mom clean, and as soon as she sees me get up, she pulls out her phone and she starts telling me about this children's book author that was on Facebook. And as soon as I hear that word author, bells sort of go off in my head. And I remember the word from the night before. But I just sort of wrote this off as a coincidence, just put it away again. Later that afternoon, I was doing the dishes, and my sister was studying to be a teacher at this time. My mom was talking to her. She said, "You know so much about kids. You should be a children's book author." And then bells sort of went off again, and I was getting a little bit spooked at this point, but I just put it out of my head again, just let it go. And then later that night, just this thought wouldn't leave me alone. And I was sitting there drawing, and my family was watching this show called Holy Moly, and I was just sort of listening to it in the background. And I'm sitting there drawing, and I just get this feeling to look up. And I looked up, and each time there was a new contestant on this show, they'd come on, they'd say their name, and then they'd say their job. And I looked up, and there was this older woman that walked out onto the stage and said her name. And then she looked right into the camera, like staring me dead down in the barrel of my eyes, and said, "I am a children's book author." And at that moment, I just sort of broke down, and I got out my phone, I downloaded Google Docs, and I just started writing. And I really feel called to write for those who are different than the rest of those around them. Um, I want to show kids that not even specifically those who have disabilities, but sort of everybody, that you don't have to be ashamed to be different. God made us all in his image, but he also made us all to be unique, and uniqueness is beautiful.
Right.
And in this generation, we're all sort of taught to put ourselves in this box, and um, God made us in such a way that we don't fit in that box, and we all have insecurities about this. And we kids just need to know that it's okay to be different. And I feel that if they can see that in a TV show or in a book, kids that are different, kids who have different needs than other kids, kids who look different, kids who have different challenges, if they see that, then they're more likely to treat it as normal when they encounter it in real life. And that's really what my whole basis of writing is about, is striving to um, just to show kids that different doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's very touching, your story, and very inspirational, because I think so often we hear that voice in our head. We hear, and like you said, maybe it's God. We hope that it that is giving us the signs of where, our path is to go. And we don't always listen to it. So kudos to you for, I know that you struggled with it a bit, but then finally when you heard that lady say who she was, you realized, dang, you could do that too. So absolutely wonderful. It's wonderful. And then to take your gift of writing, because it's a gift that you have, to take that and then, make that geared towards those that have some disabilities, those that these books will make them feel that they're not alone in the world, and they can resonate, and they can definitely gravitate to them. And of course, I think making a difference and a change in their lives. So what a wonderful thing you're doing. So I really do commend you for doing that and following what you're really truly gifted and to do in life. So it's wonderful. And now I know you're actually helping, you're working as an enrichment teacher at a local preschool. So you're doing that. So you're continuing on, I believe, aren't you continuing on with your education and everything also?
Yes, I am. I'm studying to be an elementary school teacher at this time. I'm thinking I'm gonna try and teach maybe second or third grade once I do get a
Mhm.
job.
That'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful to do that. So, well, teachers are always needed and terribly and wonderfully appreciated. So, we want you to know that. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's get into the books themselves. So, let's talk a little bit about Danny the Duck Heads South. So, what it was the vision that you saw for this book, and tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I first got the idea for Danny when I was sitting on my porch one day and I saw the ducks fly over in their little V shape. And I just thought that would be a really cool idea to write a story about. I really wanted to write about kids with disabilities. So Danny is a duck who he's at the start of the book, he is the best at flying. He's great at it. He has one flaw though. He gets distracted by almost everything that he sees. So one day when his flock is ready to fly south before winter comes, he gets distracted and ends up having an injury that leaves him unable to fly. And he has to find a new way to fly south that's different than anybody else before the snow comes. And at the end of the book, he ends up finding a new way to fly south that is actually faster than anybody else can get there. So I really wanted to bring that idea home that even if somebody experiences more challenges than anybody else, um, they can still do things in a different way that in turn can even outshine other people.
Right, right, absolutely. Now, what about the illustrations of the book? Are you also doing that, or do you have someone that does those? those illustrations?
Drawing has been something I've gravitated to for as long as I can remember. And when I first started, I'll be honest, I wasn't really good at it, but every day I'd come home from school and I'd just draw a picture. It didn't matter what I drew. I'd draw things around the house. I'd draw things outside. I didn't even really get introduced to the internet until I was a little bit older. So I just kind of drew what I saw. And over time, I got a lot better at it. And now I've got some really cool progress to show for it. And yeah, it just really makes me happy to see how far I've come.
Oh, that's terrific. You know, a lot of times when we're in the thought process of writing, you know, for you, I would think the illustrations, the artwork and all of that would also help you with the inspiration of where you want to go with the book. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it helps you kind of design that, put that, you know, it's like a storyboard, isn't it? So
Mm-hmm.
when you make your book up, do you treat it like a storyboard? Do you have like, okay, this part here and then this over here, and you keep kind of working through it?
Um, there's not really a rhyme or reason to how I write my books.
Hmm.
I always make sure that I have my words exactly how I want them before I ever start illustrating, just because
Okay.
if I did end up changing some of the words, that could end up changing the pictures, which in turn I'd have to start over. So I really want to fine tune all my words before I even begin to start drawing. But in my writing process, so for Danny the Duckhead South per se, when I was first writing that up, Danny goes through a whole list of different things that he tries to get south that end up not working. So
Mhm.
I just simply write down one word for each of the pages that showcases what Danny is trying to do. And then I just sort of leave that go. And then throughout the week, ideas just sort of come to me, and I'll just be doing whatever I'm doing. I can take out my phone, just jot down a note real fast, and then go about my day, and then I can expand on that later. And this process just sort of continues until a book just sort of forms itself.
Very interesting, very interesting. You know, when you were talking, it made me think a little bit about Disney, you know, right? About how Disney was created, the characters, Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and all of them, how they were actually created. And who knows, you know, you could be the next, the next Disney characters. You never know as we continue on here. So now, Danny, is Danny the same? When we talk about Danny the Duck, Danny the Duck heads south, and then Danny and Kevin conquer camping. So is Danny the same Danny on Danny the Duck? It is the
Yes.
same character?
Yep,
Okay,
it is the same Danny. It
okay,
is the sequel to the original Danny the Duckhead South.
okay. So tell us a little bit then about the camping trip, how they conquer the camping. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to use camping as the next storyline.
Okay, so my second book is titled Danny and Kevin Conquer Camping. This book is actually a mission book, which my publisher came to me one day and asked if I could write a mission book. That what a mission book is it specifically targets a certain group of people that are sometimes overlooked, and it brings attention to them. And I really think this is a great thing because, well, when I was just that kid that had the stutter, if I would have saw that in a book, or if I would have saw that represented somewhere else, I would have like felt like I wasn't so alone in my struggles. So I really think that is a really great thing to do. Um, I I got the topic of limb loss and limb difference for this book. So Danny has a friend, Kevin, who is a pig, and he ends up unfortunately losing a leg in a farming accident.
Oh, okay.
And camping is something that um, I've sort of always wanted to do. And I love outdoors, I love nature. And I just saw that as a great way to be able to bring a lot of detailed nature illustrations into the book. And I think that was really cool. But throughout the whole book, Danny takes Kevin on this camping trip because Kevin just can't get over the fact that he lost something so near and dear to him. So Danny attempts to cheer him up by bringing him camping, and just nothing seems to work. But Kevin just has to realize that although he did lose something near and dear to him, he still has the greatest friend in the whole world, and Danny's not going anywhere. And he just has to realize that although he did lose something that would have made life a lot easier, he still has so much.
Appreciate what we have, right? Appreciate what we have. Well, that is a wonderful storyline and definitely needed. You know, when I think about books, I think about how important it is, number one, for reading. I mean, we definitely need to encourage all of our young people as they're growing up, you know, to read. And I remember that, especially with my kids, how much fun it was to, especially my last one, because I got to enjoy it, I think, more. When being the last one, you always seem to take more time out, but enjoy it more. Those being able, those creative moments, you know, being able to share the story, but then also hear about his interpretation of it and why he might have liked it. And so I'm sure your books are that. It's creative. It allows the kids to not only be able to participate, you know, in the storyline itself and be able to relate to it. So I think that is terrific. So let's talk a little bit about your last book, because Danny is Danny still in the book, or did we try to do something different?
This is actually a new character. This is Stewart H. Quills and his explosive emotions. It's about a porcupine named Stewart. Stewart is a very smart porcupine, and he also does not like change. And Stewart is so smart, in fact, that his original teacher, Mrs. Owl, decides that he's not learning enough in her class. He just knows too much. So she sends him to a new school, the Big City Academy, where she feels that he's going to be more challenged and be able to learn a lot more. Stewart really does not like this idea, and what happens to Stewart whenever he gets nervous or scared is that his quills shoot all over the place, and that ends up making it very hard for Stewart to make new friends in this new school. So the whole book is about Stewart having to overcome these big emotions and realize that the only thing standing in the way of him making new friends is himself and his nerves.
Wow, that is very impactful, because I tell you, we've all experienced something like that when we've had to conquer something that we think in our own mind is bigger than us, right? And so we all deal with that. I mean, that's something we all deal with. So that is terrific to be able to have that storyline for children so they can understand, because so often, you know, as they progress in school, they have to change teachers, change their environments. They're forever learning and growing and changing, and it does become a bit overwhelming for them to be able to do that. And I love this storyline because it is true that sometimes children, if they're in a class that's too easy for them, right? They
Yeah.
become bored and sometimes naughty in the class because they can't, you know, they can't sit still, they can't pay attention because they already heard it, done it, they know it, and so they just need to feel challenged, and so to step up into another classroom that and that has happened, you know, to my children, to move them into another one that's a little bit more challenging, can be a little bit daunting for them at the beginning, but then also kind of exciting too. So, yeah, you've covered all of the range of the emotions and the feelings, you know, the circumstances that happens within children as they're progressing. So that's wonderful. So, what do you have in store for us in the future? What's on the horizon?
I am currently working on a new book called Born to Stand Out, and this is a book about an elephant named Evelyn, and she is deaf. And this book is seeking to bring awareness for people with hearing loss. So this is another mission book. Evelyn loves art, much like me, and she just has a lot of trouble putting herself out there and trying to make new friends because of her disability. And at home, she has some stuffed animals that she would rather play with and rather be friends with them because it's easier than actually going and putting herself out there in the real world and trying to make friends there. So some encouraging words from her mom ends up just making her really think about sort of the challenges that she's facing and how she shouldn't let it stand in the way of her living a full and happy life. And yep, and
what a great storyline. What a great thing. Now, when will that be out? Do you have any idea?
There's not a definite date yet. It's still work in progress. I'm taking a few summer classes right now.
Yeah.
Trying to put in as much work as I can, but the illustrations still have a little ways to go.
Okay. Well, life is getting in the way a little bit, but that's okay. It'll come out. Maybe hopefully it'll be out before the holidays and people can enjoy those books. Now, all of the books that you find, all of these books that we're talking about today, Danny the Duck, I'm going to put them up here so everyone can see them. So Danny the Duck Heads South, Danny and Kevin Conquered Camping, and Stewart H. Quills and His Explosive Emotions can all be found on Amazon, amazon.com. So tell us a little bit about how you donate a portion of every book that's sold.
Okay, so a few years ago, I had the privilege of going and speaking at this place called the Action Club. And this is a club around where I live. It's for people who have exceptionalities and just sort of have troubles in life, and they can come to this place and just sort of have a community and a family around them of people who are experiencing the same things as them. And I went and spoke there, and I just felt really encouraged by them and just how they're handling life. They're amazing people, and it's a privilege to be able to help them. While I was speaking, there was this one woman who just sort of broke down and said, when we walk out on the street, people are afraid of us. And that sort of tore me up too. And I just, that just drove me on even more. I just really want to get kids at an early age to be able to see these things and be able to know that it's okay to be different and be able to know that these are people just like them. And there's no reason to be afraid.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So every book that's sold, a portion goes to this organization, the Action Club. And it benefits people with disabilities. So if you want to make a difference, you want to help your children, understand that, people with disabilities are just like them, or if they have a disability, maybe these are good books. And I would say definitely they're good books in which for them to read. So again, let's make sure you guys know what the names are. It's Danny the Duck Heads South, Danny and Kevin Conquer Camping, and Stewart H. Quills and His Explosive Emotions. And of course, we have our wonderful author here today. We have Kale Sudhoff. That's Sudhoff. Kale is his first name. So you can just look him up on Amazon. You can find his books. But better yet, contact him. Contact him at his email, which is Kale, Kale, and then his last name, Sudhoff 20 at yahoo.com. And just send him a quick message. He's got a website too. His website again is his name, Kale Sudhoff 20. And he's got a Wix site. So it's WIXSITE.com portfolio. So he's got all of his information right there on the portfolio. So please definitely reach out to him. Let him know that you've saw him today here on the show. We'd appreciate that. But it does, it's important. It does make a difference to really connect with those that have disabilities. And you never know who has a disability, who has conquered it as they've grown up in their life. So you want to make sure that you make every possibility available to them to be able to make that change. So any last words, Kale, that we can share with our audience today?
Well, I'd just say that whatever walk of life you're walking through right now, God made you for a purpose and with a purpose. He made you in his image, and he loves you for exactly who you are and who he made you to be. And you don't need to be anybody else for anybody else.
There you go. Said perfectly. Well, I want to thank everyone for being on the show here listening, and we do appreciate you. Please definitely share, like, and let us know that you watch the show. We would very much appreciate that. I would love to be able to hear from you. Just you can reach me at goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. That's goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. My personal website is goingsolonetwork.com. And of course, you can find all of our wonderful information, hosts and guests right there on newstreamingnetwork.com. That's where all of our media is, Going Solo and Going Bold. You've been listening to Going Solo with Cece. I am your host, Cece Shatz, the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. Thanks, Kale. So we'll catch you next time. Bye for now.